This was going to be a positive video. I was going to be providing a defense for one of the most critiqued aspects of The Witcher Season 2, the pacing and editing, and explain that while events and voyages seem to happen implausibly quickly, there's almost invariably a working explanation for why that's the case in universe. I was also going to point out that changes such as these are common in book adaptations, with some similar cases visible in the Lord of the Rings films, and I was going to cap the whole thing off with a discussion of the differences in medium between book and television, and the way stories necessarily get changed in order to fit in with a new medium's conventions. I was even going to include some ancient Greek poetry to demonstrate the different ways that one original text has been translated and adapted by different hands throughout the centuries, and liken this process to television adaptations of books. This is not that video, for one single reason, and that's a video clip I saw last night. I'm gonna play it in its entirety, even though that means there's a fairly big chance this video will be demonetized, but it's essential you see this, so yeah, roll the clip.
To też widownia się zmienia, wiesz, to nie jest tak, że to się wszystko zmienia. Ja widzę na przykład bardzo duże przyspieszenie tych procesów, które w książce po piśmie. Czyli takie odrywanie się od ciągów przyczynowo-skutkowych, odrywanie się od narracji liniowej, odrywanie się od takiej narracji typowo czysto książkowej. Jak się patrzy na to, kto ogląda seriale, no to im młodsi widzowie, tym oni mniej, tym logika na przykład intrygi jest mniej istotna, nie? No bo oni są...
co jest istotniejsze?
Oni są takie czyste emocje.
Action? Emocje.
Takie czyste emocje.
Okay.
Czyli taki goły miks emocjonalny. No bo to są już ludzie wychowani na TikToku, na YouTubie, którzy sobie skaczą z jednego filmiku na drugi.
Mówisz, pamiętaj.
This is Tomasz Baginski, who's executive producer for the Netflix show, and if this truly is the show's design philosophy, then I'm horrified. This isn't about changes to the source material, that's fine by me, it happens every time. It's about the principles which he holds to be important to modern storytelling, pure emotion instead of narrative coherence and logic. Because that video I was going to make originally, the one defending the accelerated pacing and editing, I can't in good faith make that video now, because a lot of the moments I was going to highlight are explained better by this clip, this toxic philosophy, than by any of the points I was going to make. Take for instance this moment in episode 7. Look at the cutting. We go directly from Ciri shattering the earth to her being chased down by mounted soldiers, despite them only being alerted to her presence seconds before. And Ciri and Yennefer haven't moved in the meantime, so it's not as if the cut is just stealthily skipping a few minutes of diegetic time. I was going to suggest that this may have just been a mounted warband that happened to be passing at this precise moment, and responding to the city's raised alarm. Convenient? Yes. But possible? Absolutely. But now, after watching that clip I showed you earlier, I honestly think I've given that moment more thought than the writers did. I was going to present similarly plausible, if contrived, explanations for a couple of other moments like this, like the way Geralt arrives just in the nick of time in this episode, or the reason Yen is still chasing Geralt by the time they get to Kaer Morhen in episode 8, after what must have been, by all accounts, an exceedingly long ride. But I'm not going to do that anymore, because all of these moments are better explained by what Baginski tells us in that clip, that the show cares more about emotion than logic. But it shouldn't be an either-or situation. If we're theorizing the relationship between emotion and logic in storytelling, it shouldn't be a question of picking or prioritizing one over the other. They are fundamentally two sides of the exact same coin. In fact, you could pretty well describe the art of storytelling writ large as logic that produces emotion. Look, to be fair to Baginski, when he's making this point, he's citing a book, Po Pismi by Jacek Dukac. Sorry if there's any Poles watching, by the way, about that pronunciation. I gather this book is about the current trends in writing and the future of the art. I haven't read that book. I mean, I can't because I haven't been able to find a translation, but yeah, I can't engage with whatever theory Baginski is using to justify his argument. But honestly, I don't think I need to, because regardless of his sources, what Baginski says in this clip is ludicrous. The prevalence of shorter form media such as TikTok or YouTube doesn't mean that people are losing the desire to enjoy long-form, serious, logical storytelling. And what's more, short-form media is nothing new. Coincidentally, I talked a little about historical short-form content in another video I made a while ago, so check that out if you want to hear about the history of short versus long-form media. But for a simple example of what I'm trying to say, it's like if Francis Ford Coppola decided he wasn't going to direct The Godfather back in the 70s because kids were reading comic books more. But this idea about younger kids being turned off to long-form content because of TikTok and YouTube, even if that were the case, The Witcher is a mature fantasy show with gory violence, dark themes, and a lot of sex and nudity. So I don't really think the majority of this show's audience is going to be the generation raised by TikTok and YouTube. Plus, at least with YouTube, this characterization of the platform as led by tiny bite-sized videos that viewers just flick between isn't really one that rings true, as some of the most influential channels on the platform, creators like ContraPoint or HBomberGuy, are making videos longer in runtime than The Witcher itself. So any way you slice it, this doesn't make much sense. And look, I'm not trying to abstract this particular issue into evidence that the whole show is garbage or anything like that. I like it and I really enjoyed season 2. But after seeing this clip, I think I'm less willing to excuse some of its flaws. I'd have loved to make that video defending the show's pacing and continuity, but now I can't. But to end on an optimistic note, this man is one of many creatives working on the show. With a high-profile IP like this, there are a lot of people involved with every part of the process, writers, other producers, and it even seems that Henry Cavill himself is having some sort of impact on the development of the show. And even if Baginski's speech in that clip does reveal a flawed approach, I'm sure there's plenty other people involved who think that approach is just as silly as I do. So as we begin to await season 3, here's hoping that we get a more logical and coherent diegesis, pacing, and editing style. But that about wraps this one up. If anyone's interested in more Witcher content, do let me know. I do have one idea, but it might be a while until I do it, since, let's be honest, this video isn't going to be a massively popular one. Oh, and I was at the pub last night and my mate Jermaine said he'd buy me a packet of roasted peanuts if I gave him a shout out in my next video, so shout out to you Jermaine, thanks for the peanuts. And if you want to help me buy more peanuts, I'm setting up a Patreon page for this channel, so if that's done by the time this video goes out, I'll throw a link in the description. I'm still finalizing some of the features, so I'll probably go into more detail about it in the next video, but yeah, no pressure, but if you have too much money and you want to get rid of some of it, you're welcome to check it out. But either way, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.